When people come out to the ranch and visit it for the first time and they actually walk through our fields, they inevitably say something like, "Is it always this beautiful out here?" And I look at them and I say, "Actually it is. And on some days it's even more beautiful."
America's growing love affair with fresh produce has made Ratto Brothers a very busy place lately. With their state-of-the-art processing facility and over 1,000 acres of fresh and healthy produce growing year-round, the beauty of their product is much more than skin deep. Yet all this success did not happen overnight. In fact, the company recently celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2005. Those 100 years are rich with family history.
I think about it a lot, yeah. And I could tell stories that we could probably make a movie of how our life began and how it is to this day.
You know, a lot of the stories that have been spoken about Grandpa and our fathers collectively have all been very, very positive stories, very humorous stories. But these are stories that speak to every American family, as we are a nation of immigrants where each generation is trying to provide a better life for their children. My great-grandfather, Giovanni Ratto, came to California from Italy when he was 18 years old in 1878. Other family members followed, and eventually he and his brother, Niccolo, started farming in Alameda as G&N Ratto. He married Catherine Parada in 1888, and together they had 5 children. One of them, my grandfather, Anton Lawrence Ratto, quit school at age 16 and began farming on Bay Farm Island in 1905. This marked the beginning of the company that is today known as Ratto Brothers.
Well, Ratto Brothers was in existence from way back from 1905. My dad, when he started Bay Farm Island, he had 3 brothers that went with him, 2 other brothers that were called Ratto Brothers. And he started that, and then they didn't last too long because Italians get very excited at times.
On the morning of the 1906 earthquake, Pop was coming with a wagon and the horse and the wagon full of vegetables, crossing the Bay Farm Island Bridge to come into Alameda. From Alameda, they go into Oakland. And anyway, as he was crossing the bridge, he says a gust of wind came out of the east and almost took his breath away. He made it to the market in Oakland, which then was on the 10th and Broadway, and the earthquake hit as he was unhooking the horse to put him in the stall. And the earthquake hit, and he said that horse stood up on his hind legs, almost hit the trolley wires, and finally he said it settled down. He said Broadway was just like a wave, and got the horse in his stall. And people would come by, but they would not buy a package off the wagon. They told me to think it was the end of the world.
Anton drove the horse and wagon full of vegetables from Bay Farm Island to the produce market in Oakland. He developed a customer base and supplied them with a full line of vegetables, either from his own farm or from the farms of others with whom he traded. This old horse and wagon has become the trademark of Ratto Brothers and serves as our company logo to this very day. In 1919, Anton married Johanna Berzoni. Together, this busy couple produced 13 children, 10 of whom survived into adulthood, 6 boys and 4 girls.
I probably went to work on the farm when I was old enough to carry a box, and I can remember my brother Anton picking zucchini, and I'd carry the box for him. And then when it got too heavy, we'd set it down and he'd take the rest of it.
In 1918, Anton purchased 68 acres of farmland on what is today 98th Avenue in Oakland, very close to the airport. By 1933, he left his operations on Bay Farm Island and farmed exclusively on the Oakland property. In the late 40s and 50s, as Anton grew older, the 5 brothers returned to the farm to form what is today known as Ratto Brothers. The 5 brothers possessed unique talents. John was a business person, Anton Jr. or Bud was the main man in the field, Frank was a detail person, Lenny was the equipment man and farmer, and Ray was a salesman.
Well, I had a good teacher. My dad sold all his life, and the trick, he says, it's nice to have the perfect vegetable to sell, but he says, if you can't sell something that isn't up to perfect, you're not a salesman.
By the early 1960s, the brothers were looking to expand operations. Urban encroachment in the Oakland area made any expansion there prohibitive. So a search went on for an ideal location in the nearby Central Valley. At that time in Modesto, the real-life American graffiti was taking place on 10th Street. But out on Beckwith Road, the Ratto brothers found their own strip to cruise.
Modesto was perfect in every respect for the company. A supportive agricultural community, abundant water from 3 rivers, fertile soil, a climate that allowed for growing all year round, and proximity to the company's established base in Northern California.
People come out from the city and they can't believe what we did to this ground. And I tell them, in California, anybody can do this if they want to put the time and effort into it.
The operation in Modesto started as 160 acres, and over a period of time, several small parcels were added to that. And in the later 1980s, several large parcels were added to that. And as of today, being October of 2006, we're farming approximately 1,000 acres.
And then as we kept progressing, Lenny and Bud came down here and went to a little bigger truck and a little bigger truck. And
when we started out, my dad had a heart attack in 1948. Him and Frank's father says, "You go to market." And we started with a Model A. When my dad took over, we took over, and then put it together and started rolling.
Today, Ratto Brothers grows more than 45 varieties of vegetables, herbs, and fruits, and ships to markets throughout the United States. From mainstay products like romaine lettuce, beets, and chard, to specialty products that serve a diverse base of ethnic customers, the familiar horse and wagon logo is seen on labels and twist ties from coast to coast. While the horse and wagon logo remains a constant reminder of the company's commitment to delivering the finest quality product, a new generation of Rattos has taken over operations as the company heads into its 2nd century. This new generation has brought with it technological advances that have allowed for growth on a national scale. The field operations infrastructure is equipped with state-of-the-art water filtration, fertilization, irrigation, and composting systems.
We've become more intensive about adding soil amendment, more intensive about rotating land, more intensive in planting crops one behind the next, and trying to increase our turnover of crops over the course of a year. And we've tried to increase our yields per acre and get more crop productivity off of the land base that we have.
Before a seed is planted, the sales team and the growing team get together to discuss the timing and amount of each crop to be sure that optimum harvest and customer demand will coincide perfectly.
The sales department and the growing department, of course, align very closely.
We meet frequently and tell the growing department what we think we can sell and break it down item by item, month by month. The growing department then knows exactly how many acres of chard or beets or kale to plant and exactly when to plant them, so they are at the optimum size and maturity to meet the demands of the customer.
We always try to make sure that we have those 45 different items that we grow, items that we broker 365 days a year. We take one day off.
From up in space, satellites guide company furrowing tractors to an accuracy of less than 1 inch. Radar systems govern the amount of nutrients put into the soil, and automated seedling planters are making each field even more productive and shortening the crop rotation cycle.
This is a Cecchi Magli transplant machine made in Italy. It's one of the finest transplant machines on the market, and it provides 100% stand for our crops. It saves a lot of seed. It provides the harvesting crews with a nice crop to harvest, so they go in and harvest very efficiently. And uniformity and quality is very good after a transplanted crop. This is a seedling romaine plant that's probably been in the greenhouse for 25 days, and this crop will grow to 14 to 16 inches tall, and in 45 days will end up in a supermarket shelf somewhere in the United States.
Within minutes of harvest, fresh Ratto Brothers produce is whisked off to a covered receiving dock and immediately loaded into the hydro, vacuum, or forced air cooling systems. Once through the cooling process, our produce is kept at a constant optimum temperature throughout its stay in the facility and all the way to the customer.
I spend the day talking about produce with buyers from all over the country, and food safety is first and foremost on their minds. They know their customers want fresh, healthy, and safe produce. Our company's farming practices have always been about food safety, and now our facility gives us the best tools available to ensure that our product is the freshest and safest it can be.
Ratto Brothers has received a superior rating for its HACCP food safety program from the American Institute of Baking. The company employs extensive good manufacturing practices and grows all of its fresh produce in accordance with standards and regulations established by the USDA and FDA.
No corners were cut in this facility. We thought of everything, from the covered dock to the water filtration system that ensures each hydrocooling wash is done with only the cleanest water. I'm really proud of the product that comes out of this facility.
The future of Ratto Brothers really is in our own hands and where we want to take it. I think we're at a great stage right now. We definitely have the confidence of the retail customer, and we're growing that segment of our business very nicely. Growing crops with the aid of satellites in outer space was something my grandfather, Anton Ratto, could not have conceived in his wildest dreams. But the funny thing is, if he were alive today and could walk out in the fields among the cabbage or basil or lettuce, he'd feel right at home. At the end of the day, we're growing the same wholesome produce that he loaded into his horse and cart over 100 years ago.
The most inspiring things, we had a mom and a dad that fed us through the Depression. There was 10 of us children. Grandma only lived with us, so it was 13 of us, including mom and dad. And we never were without food. So I have to say that the Ratto clan has been very well taken care of, and today we're very satisfied with what's going on and hopeful the younger generation will come up and take our place.